Manhood, brought you in part by Reboot and Solomon's Bespoke.
Welcome to another episode here on Manhood, where we always aim to be better as brothers. Today is a really, really important one, and it's certainly going to cause a lot of introspection, I'm sure, at the end of it, and I hope you take away as much as I do by the end of this one. The topic is dreaming in the dark, and what we mean by dreaming in the dark is really clarity of vision. And most times what people see is not actually what happens, or they don't see how you get there. So the topic, dreaming in the dark, clarity of vision. To my right, Johanse Ayodike, behavior change consultant. To his right, the man of the moment, who's going to take us through a lot of that, Dwayne Thomas. Really happy to have you. Dwayne is a pastor at Nexus Church and also real estate agent. And to his right, Niall McNish, producer and self-proclaimed vibes God. But today's a deep one. I'm sure we're going to be very pensive in this conversation. And I'm looking forward to it. And I want, before we go into a full-on conversation about it, a good friend of mine recently launched his book. And that's where we met Dwayne. Yeah. It's called Help, I Want to Be a Leader. And then it's slashed off, I'm called to be a leader. So I'm just going to hold the book up here. Yeah. So really, really important. You should get yourself a copy. It's been very impactful in my life. And I'm going to read something from it, hence the topic. So put on the glasses there. Dreaming in the dark. Great dreams often begin in the dark, in obscurity. Initially, there will be evident insignificance. Can something great come from this place with these resources? Who heard him? Nothing and no one great ever came from that family. We look around and see massively successful organizations and institutions, but do we see their battles of belief in the beginning? Do we see Michael Dell, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, or any of these people, Bill Gates? Do we see the moments before, and this is coming, dreaming in the dark, and just to say that again, great dreams often begin in the dark, in obscurity. Do we actually ever see when there's none of the flowers, there's none of the stage? We see it a lot of times, even the persons that put on these really pretty and nice events during Carnival, you know, what they see, their canvas initially might be one of just mud and dirt and no trees, and then they provide this really aesthetically beautiful surroundings when we go there. So dreaming in the dark. Dwayne, I want you to kick it off.
Yeah, I love this this chapter, and this is the same question Lyndon asked on the night of the launch. And one of the things that I have learned is when it comes to dreams are not effective without purpose, right? And when you think about purpose is not like the world that we live in, very digital, very instant. Now, I want it now. I want it real quick. Purpose is a lot slower. It's kind of like the old time picture. It's not instant. It's a Polaroid. It's a film. It has to take its time to develop. And one of the key things about a Polaroid is that you have to develop it in the dark, because too much light can damage the picture. And so when as men, God gives us a purpose, and we now develop a vision and a dream out of that, his goal is not to put us in a place where we have access to too much light too quick. Because many times the light, though it looks nice, could be damaging to the ultimate picture he wants to reveal in our lives. And so as men, we have to really submit to those moments. I've been in a moment like that over the last 4 years or so, where, the Lord will just kind of put you in the background, come out from the limelight, because there are some things in you that I want to develop. And the best space to develop that is darkness. So I think it's a very important concept that men have to embrace in this season.
I read this where when God called David to be king, right? He didn't present him with a crown. He presented him with Goliath. Oh. And there's so many moments like that where we think we ask for things like patience and courage, and what's presented is different. It gives you the opportunity to be patient, to have courage. And the moments as we talk about dreaming in the dark are lonely. And many a time depends on your belief, you don't know how you're going to come out on the other end, or if you'd come out on the other end. There's this quote that, I wrote down here. They say, a lot goes wrong before everything goes right. And, I'll say it again, a lot goes wrong before everything goes right. And it is just knowing and that belief to continue pushing ahead, and believing in that dream. And I know we spoke about purpose. And just before we had started, we were speaking about purpose, and you said that most or everyone knows their purpose. Is that what you were trying to say?
No. Well, one, I want to address something you said just now. And you said it's lonely, right? And I would say a lonely and alone is a different state of mind, right? Because many things, we're born alone, right? Even if you're a twin, you're born alone, if you understand what I'm saying. And we, for the most part, we have many moments we are alone. But if we look at it as lonely sometimes have the connotation that we lack in something. Right? So if we look at it as lonely, that sentiment sometimes could be depressing, it could be negative. So I want to flip that to alone, because many times as men and as manhood we hear about is that there are many things that I don't want to say we have to, but sometimes it's better alone. Right? And alone doesn't have to be for a long period, It could even be splits, because I spent some time alone for a week, and then I check my brother or my sister or whoever it is, and then I spend another week. So it don't have to be, sometimes when people think about spending time alone and building a dream, it have to be like 6 months or a year or many years. But it's just different periods sometimes, and this might sound a little trivial, but sometimes when you sit down in the toilet alone, right? Or you're taking a shower alone, you get a lot of inspiration from those small periods. And I'm using that as a short period, but sometimes that in itself, just giving yourself that, you go in, you can't sit down, all right. You get that time alone. So I'm not using lonely, but I'm changing it to alone at first.
So as you mentioned that's another thing. It's always one of those things that you mention. When sometimes to a woman, when you use the word compromise, if a woman is like an ultra feminist, you say the word compromise, it's giving up something in themselves. Just like we use the word humility, and you realize that the dictionary meaning is actually giving up of something, as opposed to, or depriving yourself of something.
Diminishing self.
Diminishing self. And again, it's the narrative around said word. And this is another one of those. When you use alone or lonely, you immediately think you're lacking in some place. But as we would learn today and discuss today, in dreaming in the dark and clarity of vision, for those that are believers, and this is what I always speak from a place of as a believer in God. Be still and know that I am God. And that's the moment you can't draw from anybody else. And if I could just go just a bit deeper before we go into this, we spoke about on one of these shows before with Brahman, which is in Hinduism, the belief is that the man is a soul, and the soul uses the body and mind to gain experiences, right? So in that teaching, I also believe even humanity, that it is just a collective of persons, and your experience and your experience and your experience is not allowing me to have clarity in what is. And so only when you're alone and you're removed in that moment are you really tapping in to you.
To your actual experience.
To your actual experiences and what is the collective, for lack of a better term.
Well, you can't see the tree unless you know that there's a single tree in the forest, right? But just to jump in really quickly, when I heard the phrase, out of the darkness with dreams, right? For me, I kind of stuck on the darkness part, right? For someone who, I don't want to say suffered, I live with depression, right? And that darkness means so many things to a lot of different people, because what is darkness that we're talking about? Obviously, there's you keep your eyes closed at night and you could actually dream, right? And funny enough, closing your eyes is where you could actually have better vision, by the way. But the darkness for me will come in, all right, the negative thoughts that you'll probably have, the selfishness that you'll probably be doing towards others, or the anxiety that you'd feel not knowing, or you keep replaying past situations, so you have anxiety about that, and you have trepidation about the future. Like those moments to me are what darkness is, right? And the only way to see a way through that, or at least for me, is to have some kind of bigger goal outside, not even outside, it had to be outside of yourself, because it has to be a goal to assist other people, because you can literally, it's easy to give up on a goal for yourself, right? At least, again, I'm speaking for me, guys, right? So the way I see my way out of that darkness and believe and see my dreams is by preparing a goal or purpose greater than myself. And that was my way of so that's when I hear it, that's what I feel when I'm hearing it. So I don't know if you, Hansi, could assist in if my explanation of what darkness means in this particular situation could expand outward to everyone else.
Before you answer, it gives you for where it relates to you and gives you that moment. I just want to clarify the topic.
Okay.
Right. So dreaming in the dark is not literally in the dark. Right.
Gotcha.
So you're not necessarily need to be in a dark space. Dreaming in the dark is and correct me, in terms of the further analysis or deeper dive into it. Dreaming in the dark is simply removing yourself and other persons along your way in terms of clarity of vision, where you need to remove yourself from the noise and sometimes retreat and focus and embody what your purpose and where you see this occurrence happening, and to push forward with it. So you're dreaming in the dark, meaning you're not bringing it to light for anybody else to see at that point. It is you on a journey for yourself. They say when you're about success, keep it close to your chest, because you don't want the what they call it maljo and all these other things impacting where you need to go, and you don't need the naysayers.
But I don't believe in that, right? So that means it's really interpretation that we're talking about.
But dreaming in the dark is still simply being focused, clarity of vision, laser focused on what you want to do and what you need to achieve, and then emerging after that.
Can I jump in here real quick? Because what Niall shared there is so important, because what happens is that everything in life is dual. There's left, there's right, there's up, there's down. So when we look at the word darkness or dark, that also has a dual meaning, where we have the meaning where dark means something that you're afraid of, devil, darkness, demon, But then there is dark like the dark before dawn. Okay. There's dark where essentially when you close your eyes, if you close your eyes, immediately what you see is what darkness. But that darkness is actually not evil or demon or something that is negative. It is the removal of distraction. So when we talk about dreaming in the dark, as my friend Lyndon was narrating, we're really talking about a space where you eliminate distractions and you have a clear canvas where you can create.
Okay.
So the reason why we are put into a dark season or space is because if you look at the world that we live in, we always on our phones, there's a notification here, there's always something on the agenda. And sometimes the best creativity comes out of us when we eliminate the distractions and go into a dark place. You do know how much people are afraid of closing their eyes?
Well,
because even in their own mind, which is what a man is the sum total of his mind. Right. But even in their mind, they don't have peace.
Yeah. And Niall, what you raise, I think, is a perfect example of the diversity of humanity, right? And even though, according to the Bible, we were made in His image and likeness, doesn't mean that we all the same. And many times on this show, we have discussed the meanings of words, like dictionary meaning literal, and then the meaning attributed by each human being. Okay. So in local party, the TFED is, right, is that we have one word. So we're using darkness here. We have one word, but we have
Several different
billions
meanings.
of people who have the interpretation of darkness. Now, interpretation is a lovely thing because it's neither right nor wrong. Because and this is how I heard it.
Subjective.
This is my interpretation now of it, right? Is not even correct in exactly what we mean by dreaming in dark or dreaming in obscurity, right? Is that understanding what it means to each person so that if the person first could understand what that darkness mean to them. So you see how Nile explained what darkness is to him. You did, right? I mean, I didn't yet, but darkness to me is distraction. Darkness to me is things that are not in alignment with me. So it could be negative thoughts, it could be literal dark, it could be social media and a phone, as you said. It could be not knowing exactly what to do, but everybody have the interpretation of darkness. But the darkness, I think, on what I'm hearing, and I believe because I live it also, is necessary. Because even what you sent me from the book, it says, out of the darkness, according to the Bible, the world was created. We had the Hindu pundit here the other day, and when we spoke about how the world even was created out of Brahman, it was darkness, right? So out of the darkness come, and I'm saying this because many people, you said you've closed your eyes, but many people, especially men that I've encountered, many of us are afraid, to be with our thoughts. We rather drink, have plenty rum shops. We rather besides drink, we rather go to the casino, right? We rather watch Netflix. We rather do all these things instead of facing ourselves. And in facing ourselves is where we really understand what it is we want to do. So before you ask about purpose, people knowing their purpose, I have realized in every choice everybody know what they want to do. When faced with a choice, everybody know what they want to do. And knowing what you want to do is the beginning of purpose. Now, we could have greater things and things that may come. But if I ask you something simple, you want to go down the road or you want to stay home? Immediately you know something. That is the beginning of purpose.
I like that.
So, as we talk about darkness and purpose, just to clarify again, the dreaming in the dark will be becoming more focused on what it means in this context, which is clarity of vision. Yeah? So we need to go dark, we need to take a break.
Hi guys, I'm Dwayne Thomas, and our topic today is dreaming in the dark. And I love this topic because it speaks so much of my story. Where I came from. I grew up in a little place called Chumaka, Clavantil, and if you live there, you know that life there is quite interesting. Now, this is a good little while ago. Number of years ago, and so maybe it's a little different now, but back then it was actually quite a very nice place to live. It was very family oriented. Everybody, had camaraderie in the community. My dad, he was a pastor. They used to call him preacher. And incidentally, I used to say I'll never become a pastor because I just saw they live very difficult lives, or should I say now we live very difficult lives, in the sense of you're asked to be something that in truth and in fact you cannot be. You really have to depend on God to help you to fill that mood. And he did his very best to guide me and to teach me paths that was not necessarily the norm in the community. I remember coming up as a young man, he would be very strict with me because there are things that people would do that were considered normal that he would not allow me to go. For example, I remember coming up, and back in them days, they used to have what they call caps gun war. I don't know if you know about caps gun war. So I grew up in Chumaka, but I used to go to school in a place called Simbabs, which is not too far. I used to walk to school. And back in them days, we didn't have all the guns and stuff like now. But we used to play caps gun war, and I always wanted to play it real bad, like real bad. My father was like, absolutely not. I don't want to see you with one in your hand. So of course, as a kid, everybody having fun, everybody doing this one thing, you want to do it too. And I I used to ask him, well, Dad, why wouldn't you? It's just a game. You know what he said to me? He said that will start as a game, but years later, it will be real guns. And so he said, I don't want you touching one. I don't want you playing with none. And in that moment, I was upset. I was mad. Years later, many of those guys that I sat in class with, I talking about like literally next. I'll give you a quick story. I met my dad and he said, I have to go up the hill to meet a guy that he was helping out. This guy was he was the one in charge of the block. I ain't gonna say where we went. I would just say that he asked me to take him, and he told me the name of the person, and I didn't know the person by that name. It was like an alias now. And we driving up in there, and we reach at this particular place that is a pretty rough area these days, right? And when I come out the car with my dad and I saw who was the man running the block, it was one of my boys who used to sit right next to me. His mother, we used to buy him all the guns. Like he had all the different types of caps gun and everything like that. And I saw him and he saw me and we connected. By this time I was pastoring and, I was doing okay. I'd come out of that season of, that dark season where you're under parents' scrutiny, under all of these different things and you're feeling like it's not working out. And then I was like, wow, I understand why, that restriction was there. Funny story. 2 days later, that same friend that I grew up with was gunned down. Literally 2 days later. And I shared that story because when we're talking about dreaming in the dark, the first thing that you have to be prepared for is restriction. Dreaming in the dark is going to require that you are not going to be able to do things that a lot of people are doing. And sometimes as men, we feel stressed because we are restricted. You understand? And I just want to kind of make it evident. And that's just one story of many guys, like of areas where I see God had restricted me and told me no, and told me that's not what I'm going to allow you to do. And in the moment, it felt like something that was setting me back, but in truth and in fact, it was actually setting me up and protecting me from a lot of things that kill your dreams. And so to me, dreaming in the dark really means being humble. I realize humility is a kind of a loaded word. on
It was an epiphany moment on this show, but as you said that, there's also that saying, they say, what you chase runs faster and what you embody walks within.
Say that again for me.
So what you chase runs faster, but what you embody walks within you.
Oof.
I like it.
That is good.
I like it a lot, actually.
Embodying something takes some effort. Yes, saying we want to do, let's go base, right? Saying you want to study for an exam and studying for an exam is two different things. Saying I want to lose weight, but going to the gym or walk, wherever it is every day.
Do you want to put any work?
Takes the effort.
So what we're actually talking about is motivation.
No.
More than that.
You see what he said? Restriction, right? Now, let's use the word and are going to be semantic. Let me say more boundaries, right? Because restrictions sometimes feel like I'm taking something from you, right? Versus now I'm walking a certain line. So my vision is there, and let me call it vision on frequency 5. Right? So that means if I want to go to frequency 5, I can't walk on frequency 4 or frequency 6 or even frequency 4.9. Even though it's close to 5, I can't walk on this frequency. I have to be laser focused to this frequency. So in order to taken away something, I'm not going down these lines. So if frequency 5 is going to the gym every day and eating healthy, just giving the example, then frequency 4 is doubles, right? Frequency 6 is pizza.
Doubles now.
As I hear doubles, immediately I start to get hungry.
But you know what I mean?
But you know, as you said that, and I don't mean to bring up all these quotes, but you know, Albert Einstein also had said
What's that?
that the knowledge that brought you here to create this is not the same knowledge that's going to take you to the next step. And I'm paraphrasing.
sense.
No, I
But-
think it's exactly that. Yeah.
But that's the context of it. But Niall, I just want to address the fact that it is in a sense motivation, because dreaming in the dark is clarity of vision, right? Knowing where you are, seeing the vision, and being able to be in a space to then take it to the next step. Even with all the naysayers, you know, it's not always about the destination. Sometimes it's the journey, and being able to be really focused to know where you want to go, because that road is going to come with probably more no's than yeses. Yeah, and they always say, you know, people can do everything, but you can't do. People can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Gotcha.
And I'm saying that motivation still has a place, because even in that clarity of vision and the restrictions, and I do like the word restrictions, because I want to be fit. I want to enter this triathlon. But what people don't see, you know, they only see the decision that you made. They don't see the choices that you had, right? So they only see what you select, but they don't understand all the various choices you would have had at that point. So if you look at several colors and you pick yellow, and yellow seems to be the winning color, they don't understand that you had a green, you had purple, you had all these other things, all these other ways of life that you could have chosen, but you chose this one and to walk that path. And that's why you're still here today in this chair.
And you know, just to speak to what Niall just, it's a little bit more than motivation. I usually say that motivation is like a shower; it don't really last long. Dreaming in the dark is more about developing inspiration. And if you know, look at the word inspire, it's two words that's brought together. The first one is the word in, because if your dream is only about external things, it's not going to be a strong dream. But when what you said just now, when what you're going after is embodied, it's within you, then it's now inspiration. You are, something is motivating, or a motto that is within you is pushing you. And a lot of people go after motivation, and it's good. It's good to start, but you have to come to the place where you are moving under inspiration. That word spire is like you know them old time churches, the roof that they have.
Steeple.
Yeah, that's a spire, right? So essentially, inspiration affects the peak of what you can do and what you will feel like you can do. And so one of the reasons why dreaming in the dark is important, again, just to stay on topic, Robert, is when things are dark, you said just now, if you chase after it, it will be faster than you. But if you embody it, it will walk within you. And one of the things about darkness is that it slows us down.
Okay, you can't go too fast.
You can't chase in the dark.
Okay,
You catch that?
I do.
And so sometimes God will ensure that we are in a dark space, because that's the only environment that we are naturally programmed to move slowly. And sometimes moving slowly is what creates the highest level of stability in our lives as men. So that's why for me, in terms of what you were talking about earlier, why I gave that example is because some men are so afraid of the dark because of depression, because of hurt, because of all types of different things. They are afraid of the dark. But the truth is, the destiny of your life will be created in a dark space. And so you have to make the separation between dark that is bad and dark that is connected to the development of a dream. You understand what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
there's so much, even in that motivation. I like how you use the word inspire, because the motivation I initially spoke about was that I want to do this, and because that vision is there and very clear as to where I want to go, and as long as the clarity is there, because you could have many visions,
Yes.
but if you have full clarity that this for sure is where I want to be. You know, I always use there are all these things we talk about Michael Jordan and even Walt Disney. And when he went to the bank, for example, I think he went to something like 212 banks, and he was really selling them a swamp and a rat. When you think about it, a swamp and a rat. And I think it was on the 212th bank is when he got the money, and now it's Walt Disney. And he, like Jeff Bezos, I was reading something up to the other day where Walmart was the giant in the US and all over the world. They had everything. It was a matter of be everywhere, locations, have everything, and have it at a very low cost. That was their model. And here Jeff Bezos, a hedge fund, someone who was in hedge fund at that time comes and decides, okay, I'm going to go along the route of online, website, data, convenience. And then he came out with Prime, which was now a click. Everything was now immediate, faster delivery. And what that did in the conditioning of the brain, in knowing you're now locked in, you're now paying a premium in terms of an annual fee, you're now locked into, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
And therefore, but again, Walmart along the way never looked at Jeff Bezos, never looked at Amazon, because he started off selling books. And never looked at him as any sort of competition, and now they're playing catch up. But now in your mind, you're thinking everything is Amazon, right? And all the other rest of it that comes from it. And I'm saying that that vision, that clarity, knowing the end goal, and everything else is just a journey to get to that destination. So in that, the motivation is that certainty that, okay, this is going to happen.
Motivation or inspiration?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Initially, this was my thought. When I thought the motivation to get me there is knowing I have that clarity. I know I'm definitely going to succeed. Because as I said, remember, people can do anything, but you can't do everything. So as long as you know, the only thing stopping you is time. Time is the killer of most people's dreams, because you wait and wait and wait. And therefore, I think it was Oprah that said it once, don't wait another 10 years to do what you could have done 10 years ago, right? Now is the time when you have that vision. And so my thing is that motivation to get there comes with, and I come back full circle to restrictions. If you want to be a top athlete, you can't have the sugar. You can't be partying. Michael Phelps trained 365 days, twice a day. His life, the girlfriends, all that. In order to be a supreme athlete, he had to be Michael Phelps. He had to be he was restricted on so many things. And I'm sure initially that was his parents. Because he wouldn't have, as a teenager, just decide, hey, this is where I want to go. Lewis Hamilton, all these people that are great and have done great things would have come with a certain amount of restrictions. And so I'm saying to you, Niall, that the reason why I want to keep coming back as we talk about dreaming in the dark is that you must have the clarity first of that vision. And then everything else is just ways to get there. And you'll be motivated and inspired to do that, because you know for sure where you want to be.
Well, again, and I heard you when you said that, but my pushback would be that the only way to get clarity is that you have to acknowledge the darkness first. That's where the clarity comes from, and that darkness means something to everyone. Right? To some, it would be being alone, separating yourself. Sometimes your money not seen right now, so you will remove yourself from your friends. This happens a lot. You don't feel that you can compete, so it's easier just to stay home and eat eggs whole day, because you can't, you understand? Until hopefully something happen for you to be able to re-emerge into the market. I have a lot of time going through that.
But like Johanse pointed out, many a time, nobody wants to. Many people don't want to face themselves. So even in that, if we talk about on the show so many times where that imposter syndrome, your vision is there, and if I only push a bit harder, but then you start to doubt yourself, because people will come into your head, whether they know your dream or not. They may say certain things, and how you feel about that. Do you have the clarity of vision to really push forward? Do you have the support system? Are you connected with either faith or with a community to take you there? We had a conversation once on community, and that's it. And
most
that's
men
why
in particular aren't.
That's why only few actually actualize.
So then, does that say that in the reality of things, everybody not gonna make it, and it doesn't matter how clear your vision is, the majority
What is your
not gonna
purpose?
get there?
Talk about that.
But it's clear that we need to go to our break. We can come back to that. Welcome back to Manhood. We're discussing dreaming in the dark, and we talking about purpose. And I was saying that everybody know their purpose. Now, sometimes they challenge that because, and again, I don't want to go with semantics on understanding what purpose is, but in every choice, and I was alluding to it before, every choice we are faced with, we know exactly what we want to do. And because we know what we want to do, that is the stepping stone to, let's call it a higher purpose, so a qualifying purpose now. So if right now my purpose is convenience, I don't want to travel to work, right? I don't want to take public transport to work. That's my immediate. Then I would now think about what is the most effective. Should I build a railroad from Port of Spain to San Fernando? Should it be by boat? Should it be by whatever? But if I didn't acknowledge at first that choice I had and be sure I don't want to travel anymore, then that's the building block. So when I say that, everybody faced with all the choices in their life have the building blocks for a purpose and even a higher purpose.
And not so knowing the purpose of something and what you're doing and knowing your purpose is two different things.
Indeed.
And that's what I'm saying. So when you start off by saying everyone knows their purpose, I
Their
disagree.
purpose.
I disagree.
Same.
Maybe somewhere deep down, if you are still unconnect, maybe that may come to the fore. But I don't think going forward, and when I say I don't think, I'm absolutely sure everyone doesn't know their purpose, because I sit here in this chair still dealing with that battle of what is indeed my purpose. Because your plan might be God's plan, and what you think is your purpose, it might be to say, okay, to be a therapist or a behavior change consultant or to be here on this show. But suppose your purpose is simply when you leave here today to give somebody water that then allows them to do something great in their life.
Because I came to the show, it gave me the opportunity to give them the water. Because why other there?
Well, you're in the environment. So I'm saying to you that does everyone really know then their purpose? And that's what I'm saying, where you can sit here and say, my purpose in life is, as opposed to know the purpose I am going to this show today is to talk about dreaming in the dark. That's different.
But that's how we find it, because even those guys in the book, Jeff Bezos, right? Now, wasn't in their mind. So even though Amazon was created, his purpose, let's just say his purpose was, I using it, convenience, right? Amazon wasn't necessarily something he thought of. And then we could always argue the higher purpose is because he created Amazon, he created jobs for all, and he end a world drought. And so we could always add on a purpose to our
But that
purpose
might
to
mean
our
purpose in life is what I'm saying to you. What is the purpose? And if we go down in faith, the purpose of you being on this planet is what we're talking about, not your purpose of your intent.
One of the things that we have to kind of bring into perspective is, number one, purpose is not static, right? Purpose is dynamic, which means it has to evolve given the circumstances and environment and the cards that you're being dealt. Now, when you talk about purpose from its simplistic point of view, purpose is simply the reason why something exists. Number one. So, for example, those glasses on that book has a singular purpose, and that is to empower you to what? See. Now, when you look at the purpose of the glasses, it is not decided by the glasses. Yeah, it's decided by the creator, the person who engineered, designed, developed that glasses, decided beforehand what that glass's purpose is. Now, the reason why most people have challenges with the conversation of purpose is because we have forgotten who created us. How crazy would it be for that glasses to start asking itself what is its purpose?
Okay.
So when you're having a conversation about purpose, you have to now go back to the conversation of, first, who created me and why? Now, from my worldview, the person that created me is God. So if I am to understand what my purpose is, the most intelligent question or person that I should ask is not going to be myself. It's not going to be my friend. It's going to be God. Lord, what is my purpose? Now, the challenge with that is this. For most people, they don't have a working conversational relationship with God. Right? So the next best thing, if that is a challenge, is go to where God would have left the most information. In my point of view, that would be the scripture, right? And according to the scripture, if you look at the word scripture, right, if you break it down, it says script. What is a script? A script gives an outline for what? A movie, a picture, a vision. So according to the script that I am have faith in, the purpose for humanity, all human beings, were created for three things. Number one, to have dominion. Especially as men, we are naturally engineered to have dominion, which simply means to dominate, to be in charge. A man who is not in charge of anything is not a happy man. Even if it is,
Yourself.
well, that's the first thing, eh? But you will see a man who will feel so fulfilled because he have pets, pigeons, back in the day.
That's literally the reason why I got dogs.
You see what I'm talking about? So I ain't lying.
So there's a need to boss something.
There's a need to dominate.
Well, to dominate.
No, for real. And it's not toxic.
I
Let
would
me-
say
let me-
we say
responsible,
manage, right?
responsible.
God
Be in
gave-
charge of.
God gave Adam to manage the garden.
Now, hear this. You could use boss in charge, because the truth is, if you read that script real good, the area of dominion that was given to man was everything except other human beings. So I know people run away from that word because immediately they think, well, you're going to try to control other. No, you don't dominate other humans. You lead other humans. But when we talk about dominion, we're talking about being a boss, being in charge. That is a most of the depression of men is because they don't feel in charge of anything, not even their homes,
So if your dog not obedient to you, which,
not even themselves.
so like you calling your dogs and they
That is
go on all
like
out
the-
there.
You understand what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So once you get that, okay, first thing is God created me to have dominion. The next thing he says, I want you to be fruitful. Because we're talking about purpose here, right? Of human beings. Every human being's purpose is to first have dominion, to be fruitful, which is to be successful, and then to multiply, which is to be significant. The challenge is that people are looking for specifics, but no, there's a general outline of the purpose. For example, the glasses. It is for you to see better, but some glasses has the capacity to actually shade from the sun. Now that's an extra. And it's the same thing with your human purpose, where once you know that, hey, I have to have dominion, I have to be fruitful, and then I have to multiply, which is to be significant, which is to touch other people's lives, right? Then you now are looking at life through the lens of these three areas, which means I can do anything and still operate in my purpose once I'm having dominion, I'm being fruitful, and I'm able to now be significant in the lives of other people's. Every human's being purpose is encapsulated in that. How you express that purpose is left up to you. That's where we have freedom of choice, because God is not here telling you, you have to do this. And the truth is, you don't have to do one thing to live in purpose. But there is one thing that you will do that will come into alignment with your purpose. Once you find that, you do that. And then you remember it's dynamic, because that thing could grow, it could evolve, it could change. So it's not that you're just staying in one area. I'm a pastor, but that's not my purpose. That's one of the things I do that is in alignment with my purpose. I do real estate, but that is not my purpose. It is in alignment with my purpose. My purpose is to have dominion, to be fruitful, and to multiply. I think once you understand that, it creates a foundation where you have the freedom to be dynamic and still not be all over the place so that you feel like you're lost. Yeah.
Okay.
And bringing that back nicely into, that's also purpose. You still have clarity of vision. You still know where you want to be and what you want to accomplish. And if you will, Dwayne, I want you to share your experiences during the times that the world experienced it's one of its darkest moments, which was during COVID,
Right.
and how you emerge from that to still follow that clarity of vision and bring into context dreaming in the dark.
Yeah. Wow, that's a heavy one, there, boy.
Can I just clarify? You mean recently our dark moments?
No,
Yes, like
Doing it.
I just wanted to, you said the world went through our darkest moments.
One of the
COVID,
darkest
COVID.
moments. COVID.
I felt like it could have been easily misconstrued as glossing over other issues that the world
Recently,
had.
yes.
So I'm trying to,
But in context,
Yes,
Yes.
with me, COVID, yes. This is just before COVID. This is crazy. And I remember it clearly. We, at that time, I had really did the best that I can to, come out of where I came from and build and develop. At this time, I was married. I had 2 kids, working in a decent job with a business on the side. And, things were going pretty okay. From my point of view, I was focused on really putting my head down and working towards the big goal, right? And all of a sudden, my wife then, she's like talking about having a pain. Well, we just had a baby. He was at that time 9 months. So pain in the breast for a breastfeeding mother is not the strangest of things, right? And so, I didn't take it for granted. Well, we didn't take it for granted, but we didn't think it was serious to that extent. But it wasn't going away. So, we went and checked it, and they said that it wasn't a problem. This was a private institution. And so, but it kept persisting. It was really strong, and it was starting to get a little scary. And we did another test. And at this junction is when we were told that with no real symptoms except for regular, pain that breastfeeding mothers have, she was stage 4 cancer.
Damn.
Now, this is literally a month before the world was about to go to
Smithereens.
yeah.
Right.
And, of course, I have a lot of responsibility at work. My wife is now losing strength. So now I'm at 2 churches because I'm helping manage, at her church. And I'm still have my responsibility at where I was at. And
Newborn.
and a newborn, and at that time a 3-year-old, because we had 2 boys at the time. And boy, this is where the darkness begins, because this is the process of God bringing me back into a dark phase because of what he had planned next. But of course, while this is happening, I don't know this. I'm just literally going crazy, because I'm like, how do you move from, everything being quite normal to your whole life falling apart in a matter of weeks? This didn't take months. This was weeks, and everything went crazy. Of course, we decided that it would be best for us to travel at the time to try to get, because stage 4, if you know anything about these types of challenges, that's not a good stage to be at.
I can imagine.
Usually stage 4 is they try to prepare you for the worst.
It's palliative at that point.
Yeah, it's really, really, and it had already spread. So it wasn't just in her breast; it was on her lungs as well. So, yeah, this was like, I could tell you, you go into like a numbness. It's like time is happening, but time is not happening. And one of the things about being a man is that difficult times do not absolve you of your responsibility as a man. That's one of the lessons that I had to learn in that season, because now, even going through all of this, you still have people that you're responsible for spiritually. You have your family and all these different things. But thank God, of course, in that season we had help. My family was, my mother and my father and all of my family members was a huge help. My church family was a huge help, but it was still very difficult. And so, quick, interesting thing. We had to take a flight. We had to go to California. We went to Bakersfield. You ever hear about Bakersfield, California?
No.
I swear to God, I never heard about Bakersfield, California before this incident. It's a real kind of a quiet town in California. And that's where the doctors were located. we had to jump on a plane, and it was so crazy. One of my wife's relatives called, and we were supposed to leave 2 days later. I was at the bank, because of course now sickness does the bills for sickness does it does magnify quick, and just trying to figure that out. I'm at the bank and trying to work that out, and I got a call from the US saying, you guys need to get to the airport now, because at that time it would have been Trump would have been the president. He said President Trump is thinking about closing the borders. So I had to like drop everything and rush from the bank. Get this. This is like, we're talking about a healthy person that has become really weak, and it was just craziness. Had to rush to the airport. It was crazy. And of course, Trinidad traffic is insane. This is after 2 in the afternoon. We had to get there before 3 o'clock. And rushed to the airport, got there. We had to get a police escort, as a matter of fact, because we would have never made it. And got to the airport, and I forgot her pain medicine, because at this time she's in excruciating pain.
Damn.
So things getting from bad to worse. And now I'm feeling like an absolute loser, because, she's sick. It's my job to make sure everything is, I have every single thing. And I forgot the pain medicine. And boy, listen, we are on this plane and we're going to the States, and I have to be doing all types of things to try to comfort her, because this pain is excruciating. And in the moment, I'm like, God, definitely forget about me, boy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I ready to retire. Like, literally, I'm ready to resign, should I say. I'm too young to retire. I ready to resign, because I'm not seeing any indications that this is anything good. I mean, they say all things supposed to work together, but I ain't seeing no good in this. All I'm seeing is pain. 10-month-old baby crying that I had to push in the hands of my mother, and a 3-year-old who's completely confused as to what's going on with his mother and his father, and they just disappear, and we left. And subsequently, of course, with all the best efforts, she didn't make it. She passed away. And this is where the darkness comes in, because now it's COVID. Everything is shut down. And my job is to...
So your wife passed away in the States?
Yeah, she died in the States. So that was a whole crazy thing, because the funeral, I had to do... Listen, that was crazy. I had to do her funeral, take care of all of those arrangements, pretty much by myself in a different country with my kids in Trinidad. And when we talk about darkness, that was a dark season. Like, just finding the strength to get up was challenging, right? Because now I had prayed for people who had cancer and they didn't die. And now my turn to get a little blessing. And my person dies, and I'm like, ooh. But what I learned is this: God will make us go through the darkest periods, because the truth is, the darker a moment is, the more clear you can see the next moment. So clarity is based on perspective and connection. There's a scripture that says all things work together for good. But the challenge is that we evaluate seasons in isolation. Darkness is like having something sweet after having something sour or bitter. The sweetness is intensified because of the connection to the seasons. So me going through this season now, this is not to say that I just bounce back, yeah? I had a long period of a lot of tears, a lot of just not knowing if I'm heading in the right direction. But the one thing I knew is that I could see clearly where I wanted to go. And now I recognize that the clarity was because of the darkness of the previous season. And so I learned that God will to prepare you, because now 5 years later, I've been able to be remarried to an amazing human being that, oh my goodness, I'm still trying to get to the place where I feel I even deserve, you know, the level of amazingness and purity that's in her life. I'm open to counseling today because of her. She taught me the importance of what counseling can do for you as a man. Because, you know, I learned that as a man, I go tough it out. And she had to teach me, no, you could tough it out, but you will be even better if you can actually talk with someone who can teach you. And this is crazy because I'm a pastor and I've had to counsel, but you wouldn't believe how many pastors counsel others but don't do counseling themselves. All right, some of them will get vexed for saying that, but it's the truth. All right, so the clarity came there where I was so restricted because now I'm in the States. You know, by myself. I was with my in-laws, but pretty much by myself because everybody have their own life and everything like that. And you'd recognize that when you get into moments when you feel it by yourself, that's the moments where you can see things really clear. Not only that, you can hear things. Look at the word clear. The last 3 letters, it spells what? Ear. And so one of the ways that God creates clarity is that he puts you in an isolated and a dark space because that's the time when you're open to hear what he have to say. And in that moment where I'm alone, my previous wife is now gone, my kids are in Trinidad, and I'm stuck there because they're not letting me come back. Well, here's what. The only thing I could do is listen in that moment. And in being open to listen, I got clarity for exactly what I wanted to create moving out of that scenario. And of course, clarity doesn't mean that it becomes easier, but it means that you are fully confident in where you are going. And I think that is what has made the difference and given me the strength to fight through all of the challenges that came from such a traumatic experience. Because I myself had so much trauma, so much pain, so much hurt, so many things that was inside of me that would be detractors to my vision, to my goals. But because of the clarity that I have, it gave me the wherewithal to press through. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to accomplish, not just for me, not just for my wife, not just for my sons, but for the purpose of my life, you know? And so I believe that if you are going through a moment and a season where you are being put in a dark space, a dark season, it is not to kill you, it's not to harm you, it is to create the quietness that is necessary for you to hear so that you can become clear. And I think that has been the foundation of, you know, the 360 that the Lord is producing in my life from that time to now.
That's a good way to
Have a closing statement.
You want to say?
Thank you, one, for sharing it. And as I was sharing for you before, when I heard that your wife passed, right, it did bring me some sadness. I felt sadness in a moment. And that was curious because usually I don't face death with sadness because of the inevitability, right? But it helped me now embrace the darkness even more. So that's what I'm taking away. Embrace the darkness. Now, whatever form of darkness it take in terms of the circumstances in your life or in my life or those who are watching in your life, but embrace it because it's only, or at least one of the major places where you'll be forged as a man, forged in purpose, is in darkness.
Okay. That's actually really good too, you want to say. For me, I would say to the layman's out there, to the average guy, average Joe, if it is that you don't know what to do next, you're in your darkness currently, right? And now you're in the best position because now you could identify where you are. And once you know where you are, it's easier. And again, as I said before, once you're in your darkness, that's the only time you will know where the light is or know where your clarity is. So I think that if you are right now in a space where you're confused, don't know what to do next, that's great. The isolation, as Dwayne was now saying, is the best space to be in to move forward, and don't be discouraged when you're in that space. You know, I don't know how to assist you out of it, but don't be discouraged when you're in that space.
So thank you, gentlemen, all for sharing. This has been another really powerful one. My closing thoughts are going to be very simple. to really say again, what you chase runs faster, and what you embody walks with you. And as we speak about clarity and vision, that dreaming in the dark, ask yourself, in order to stay on point, to stay focused, what is the why? And I think asking yourself what that why is what will drive you. Because the why could also detract you, and also to give you clarity and understanding that this may not be the vision. Because in that why, and I just want to quickly express this, in this forum, with that why, you may get your own answers as to, is this really what I want? Why am I really doing it? And in that introspection, you may ask yourself some really tough questions. You have to face that man in the mirror. And if that why is indeed one for purpose, then, and that clarity of vision is there, then nothing's going to stop you. Because the naysayers, the imposter syndrome, all the negative, because you're tapping into that, which is the higher power, whichever you call it, God, I call it. It's tapping into that why, and that's going to drive you. That's going to give you that inspiration, that motivation. It's going to give you the ability to go through and endure the restrictions. So this is Dreaming in the Dark. It's always darkest before the dawn. So stay strong, stay committed, stay focused. Clarity and vision. Johanse, Dwayne, Nile. This is Manhood.
Manhood, brought you in part by Reboot and Solomon's Bespoke.